The theory I've chosen to present to a freshman class is the 5 Canons of Rhetoric that was created by Cicero, the Roman philosopher, and he created this over 2,000 years ago. And the 5 Canons of Rhetoric is important for giving an argument because it deals with every single step of giving an argument and how to give it as well. So the 5 canons include invention, arrangement, style, memory, and delivery. So the first one, invention, you need to think about what your goal is. Not what your end goal is, but what your speech's goal is. You also need to think about if it's simple or complex, and if it's complex, you need to break it down into further questions. And you also should think about what your opponent is going to say back to you, so that way you can already argue back with what they're going to propose back to you. The next canon is arrangement, and this is where the ethos, logos, and pathos comes into play, and you need to follow that order. So Cicero created an outline as well that goes with an introduction, narration, division, proof, refutation, and the conclusion. The next canon is style, and this includes the proper language, clarity, vividness, which means a clear example of what you want, the decorum, which means fitting in with who your opponent or the other person on the other side of the argument is, and the ornament, which is the pace and the cleverness of your words. The next canon is memory, and the Romans would use something called a memory house, where they would think of the house inside of their head and they would fill the empty spaces with words. And from those words, if they were giving a bigger speech that they couldn't have, obviously they couldn't have a PowerPoint, so they would have to put everything inside their memory. But if they had to give a very long speech, they weren't able to do so, so they would fill houses with these words, and then from those smaller words they can go back further into their memory and it'll draw out more of their sentences and phrases and argument. So today we just have PowerPoint, and it's a mnemonic, so when our PowerPoint comes up we know exactly what to say because we have like a key word on the slide of the PowerPoint and we know what we have to say from there. So the last canon is delivery, and this is how the speech is given, and it's including the pauses, the body language, and your tone. So the example that I've come up with for our freshman class is, my roommate should have the lights off by 10 p.m. daily because it interferes with sleep. So that's your invention of the argument. So next, your opponent's argument back to you would be that they were studying or doing homework, they're eating, or they're just not ready for bed yet. But you already thought of those things ahead of time, and your rebuttal is going to be that they can go to study lounges to do homework or study. There's the commons they can go to, and Finley Commons is right in East if they want to eat. Or they can go to a friend's dorm if they're not ready for bed yet, or if they just are doing homework or something. So the cause and effect of this is that if you don't get enough sleep because the lights are on, you're going to be cranky and miserable the next day. So your arrangement, you first need to get your audience to like you, but because you probably already know your roommate, they probably already like you. So your ethos is going to be that you're sharing a room with most likely a stranger. Your logos is that the dorm room is the only place you can sleep, while as their activities they can perform elsewhere. And your pathos is that you're already being tired enough dealing with school and homework, so if you aren't able to get any sleep because the lights are on, then it's going to make you more cranky and miserable, and it could cause a further argument with you and your roommate. So your style, you want to use simple words towards your roommate because this is just an informal discussion, and you want to tell your roommate exactly what you want. As for memory, because this is just probably a 5-minute speech towards your roommate, you don't need to use any presentation devices, you can just memorize your speech. And for your delivery, it's how you say the things, and you don't want to have any negative tones or negative body language towards your roommate because that could further complex things as well. So instead of saying something like, this needs to happen because my sleep is important, you can say something like, I understand that you have things going on as well, but this is the only place where I can sleep, whereas you can go somewhere else, and there are things that you're going to have to agree upon throughout the year in order to have a successful year, and you need to tell your roommate that this is one of those things that you just truly want to happen within your room. So I hope that you can use the 5 canons of rhetoric that Cicero created throughout your entire life, whether it's talking to your roommate, your parents, or even a boss or a professor.